Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Postman Podcast here with me, my friend Zach,
How's it going?
and my boy Mikey.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, we're back here rolling again for the second time around. We all kind of had a lot going on, so a lot of it kind of fell on me not being able to line up with their schedules. So we decided to take a week off. I'm back home, so but I think to start it off, I'm really excited because when I got back home, the first thing I got to do was watch some spring training, and I wanted to kind of get your see if you guys had a chance because I was talking with my friend Jack, who I do my live streams with for college basketball. He's actually down there watching the Phillies at Clearwater for the week, and I want to see what you guys if you guys have watched any games yet.
Well, it's been great, and I love the hope that's come back from spring training. It's always a very fun times. Everybody's all excited,
Unless
except
you're the
for
White Sox.
maybe south side of Chicago, kind of iffy, but
White Sox.
it's okay. You got some hope. Maybe you win 30 games this year. That'd be cool. But anyway, I can't really watch any of the games because a certain streaming service that I will not name doesn't like to stream spring training games.
Oh,
So my favorite team is not available. But I have been watching
what you mean.
highlights and clips, and I will say there's some good-looking teams out there. There's some good-looking prospects. I mean, Otani
Yeah.
homered his first at bat. So did
Of
Soto.
course.
yes.
Of course.
Jackson Holiday looks good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen him. He's actually been working with with Brian Robinson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so his problem last year.
Wait, like
he
the running
wasn't-
back?
No,
Oh,
the Hall of Fame second baseman. I don't know if he's actually Hall of Fame. but
Running back.
Brian Roberts.
that's why I was
Yeah,
like, wait,
Brian
what? Brian Roberts. I was like, wait, what?
Brian Roberts.
Okay, well, anyway,
No, you're good. You're good.
you know what I meant.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's been working with O's legend, Brian Roberts,
That's
to
sick.
get more natural at second baseman because, believe it or not, he had the same issue that Holiday had where he was a shortstop his whole life, and then there wasn't a spot for him because a certain Cal Ripken was
Yeah.
at shortstop. So
It's all right.
he's been passing down all spring. He's been passing down these tips and these tricks to Holiday of how to play second base because he was trying to play second base as a shortstop, and you can't really do that. It's not fluid, especially on double plays because you're going the other direction. But ever since, he's been natural. He's been fluid. If his defense plays, he's going to play his way into a spot. We don't really need the offense. It's going to be the 9-hole anyway.
Was
but-
Jordan Westbrook still there?
Yeah.
Is he just gonna be third?
Yeah, I think so. Because
Okay.
we lost Santander.
Yeah.
So, I figure you've got some combination of Holiday, Gunnar Henderson, Westberg, and then I will probably platoon a little
Probably
bit first.
Mountcastle and
Yeah, Mountie at first for sure.
I think a Hart's still there as well. Right?
So yeah,
it's
you
probably
got
just
5 or 6.
some back and forth.
Infield is loaded. Kobe Mayo is here too. He's not going to make the
Oh
team,
yeah.
which is sad because I
He
love
could be
him.
the bench.
Yeah, but they're probably going to want to keep they have such a wealth of talent that they can afford to leave guys in Norfolk, which is fine with me because I
That
can
is
see
true.
him. But Felix the Mountain has returned. He looks amazing. Ball's coming off hot.
He struck out his first
perfect.
batter, didn't he?
Yeah, perfect inning. His first appearance. He has
Ooh.
returned, and he's got the whistle.
Yeah.
One of my favorite closer
Yeah, that's what's
intros
up.
because it's Baltimore too. So it's the Wire.
It is such a
whistle.
good intro.
Oh
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I guess.
What do you think, Mike?
I haven't watched much this spring training. Been kind of running
He's been-
around too
he's
much.
been too
for
busy
school,
playing
but-
baseball.
And playing, yeah. So haven't got to watch too much, but what I have seen, it's been good baseball so far. Excited for the season.
I always forget, Mike. You remind me. Are you a Nats or Orioles fan?
Nats,
Okay, you're a
100%.
Nats fan. Okay.
Now I will say
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of both.
Yeah. Listen,
Yeah.
even though I'm a Phillies fan, I always will respect the Nats for everything they've done this for
2019,
DC.
baby.
I guess my thoughts on it. I've watched the Phillies off and on. I don't like if we go back to the last or to the first episode, I was the only one of the three of us to not put the Phillies as the division winner. I've had a lot of pessimism, and I think some of it is still justified in my opinion because uh, the bits I like are still doing good. Schwarber's doing good. Harper's doing good. Chris Sanchez had three phenomenal outings. Wheeler looked great in his first outing out. But the bits I don't like are still here, and they're still like red flags. Bohm is hitting.
It's your top 3 pitching staff, by the way.
We'll see how Lazardo
to go with an offense that all slumped at the same time.
We'll see how Lazardo does, and if Ranger can bounce back from the ups and downs from last season. But I mean, like in the bullpen, it's okay. Strom's looked really bad, but like Romano's had a really good opening or like good start, which I think is encouraging given how last year was a really rough year for Romano. I like what he's bringing so far. I think the biggest thing for me is just, like I said, the bits I don't like are still here and they're glaring. Like Walker is still here, and I wish he got sent to Taiwan and far away from Philly at this point. But we still run him out there, and he looked awful in that game against the Blue Jays like a day or two ago. And I was talking with Jack about that. He's like, because that was the game he watched live at Dunedin.
That's too bad.
And it's just there's a lot of the bottom part of this lineup is still complete dead weight in my opinion. And I think it's going to be things that hamper them. Kepler, I'm still really skeptical if that was a good move or not, but getting him from the Twins, but I don't know. It's going to be one of those things we find out, but like I said, overall things, I like a lot of it. There's just the bits I'm not optimistic about, wish we kind of made changes with, are still showing up and are still making me feel like, even with the Mets having the injuries they had, I'm still feeling like I made the right pick right now, just for right now. We'll see how.
We'll talk about it in a bit, but I mean, you got a 3-headed monster pitching. You have at least 2.
Oh yeah.
You have the best 1-2 punch in baseball by far. Not a question.
You think?
Oh yeah. I mean, outside of Seattle,
Fried and
maybe.
Cole?
Outside of Seattle.
Better than Fried and Cole?
Yeah, Fried got hurt last year, didn't he?
I mean, a little bit, but he was still pitching at a high level.
No, I'm
I
taking
mean,
Philly.
I think he finished top 10 in Cy Young voting.
They strike me as a 90s Braves type of team. Like great pitching, offense of former stars that can play if they play to their potential. I think that team's going to go a long way.
And I think you're not too far off. It's just I don't believe they're going to win the division this year, but we'll see. But one thing I did want to mention, because there was a baseball doesn't exist video I saw, which is hilarious. It was there was a Rockies pitcher. I don't know have you guys seen this?
If you say it, I
think
might
his name
remember
is.
it. I watch all of those videos.
I want to say his
good.
name's like Jeffrey Yeen or something like that. I'm quickly pulling up my TikTok as we speak.
Which video was it from? Do you know the name of the video?
It was I don't fully remember.
did he
His
do?
name was
I know he did one
Jeffrey Yan.
recently.
Jeffrey Yan is his name. And he's this like lanky pitcher from Colorado who's on the Colorado's spring training team right now. I think he's in the minor leagues. It's like AAA. And every time he like strikes someone out, he like jumps up like a foot in the air and like does the punch out like almost like it almost reminds me of like a Fernando Rodney, or I put it out on Twitter. I said he reminds me of I want to make sure I get the name right here, so I'm just pulling up on Twitter quickly. It was
X.
It was
Get it
Jordano Ventura was who I mentioned from the Royals. You two remember him?
Ace Ventura.
Yeah, somebody who, well, unfortunately, he passed away not a
Right.
while ago. But he kind of reminds me of like the energy and excitement of what Jordano Ventura gave, like in that 2014-15 World Series. Like he like. And so many people are getting upset about that. And I see that as like a good thing, seeing players get that sort of hyped up and excited.
Well, I hope that we can see some kind of excitement in Colorado. Just somebody excited.
They desperately need it. Between him and Zach Veen, like they
Well,
got some
I'm upset
talented
because
guys.
my favorite walk-up song of all time was Charlie Blackmon. I'm so upset he retired. Watching everybody go like tonight, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was so cool.
He was so cool. He's gonna be
He
put
was
in the Hall of
Colorado.
Fame.
He's going in their Hall of Fame for sure.
But yeah, no, I'm so glad you brought that up though. But I guess my brain failed me there. But I guess kind of going into the next bit from last time out, and I'll put some stuff here. We kind of made our predictions last time, and we did half of the battle there. We did our division picks, but I think now we're gonna get to the bit. I feel like the only ones that were really controversial were, I wouldn't even say controversial, that we kind of were up for debate was like who was gonna win the AL West and the NL Central at this point, were like the main two. I know I said the Mets obviously, but I feel like for the most part,
we're just gonna shake our head every time you say that.
I know.
The entire season, we're just gonna do that.
I know.
Yep.
No, as
and when the Phillies go get 95 wins on the year.
Hey, when they do, I'll be
like,
insanely happy, and they will have proven me wrong. I will say that live. Yeah. They will have proven me so far wrong.
Yeah, you just don't want to set your expectations too high, and then fail
I think that's the big thing. Yeah.
He's a homer, and he's the opposite of a homer right now. Because it's his team, he can't root for him. Because if he doesn't root for him, maybe it'll be better.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that is kind of the mindset, but it's, yeah, trust me, I don't want the Mets to do well. It'd make me sick. But I guess kind of going into the wild cards, who wants to kick it off on the AL side? Who do you think is going to make the?
Don't start with the AL.
I'll start.
Now we have to start with the AL. Bro.
I'll start with the AL.
I'll go second if you want.
Nah, I mean I can go, but
who wants to go first? Actually, let's let Mikey first.
Yeah, I want to start with the AL. Why
Who you
not?
got for 4?
So, I got the Yankees at number 4. Kind of predictable. Good team. They ain't beating out Baltimore, but they're going to be right up there.
It's going to be close.
So, it's going to be a close battle between them. They'll be like 2 or 3 games, maybe.
I kind of wish now I switched to the Yankees, given kind of the news between Giancarlo Stanton starting on the IL and Luis Gil now being shut down for 6 weeks. I kind of wish that now, but we'll see.
Too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's already posted.
My number 5 is going to be Seattle. I think Seattle will have a good team.
There we go. I like that pick. I like that.
I want to hear your mindset on that one.
I mean, they're just still going to be a competitive team. Like J-Rod's still, he's probably one of generational
Bring back
talents.
the Trident.
Yeah, the Trident celebration, of course. A bandwagon to the Trident celebration, but I think they still have a solid overall team. I think they're just going to be just as strong as they were last year. So I think they'll have a good chance of making it.
Okay.
And then my final is Houston. That one might be a little controversial. They have lost some talent. Like Springer left this year, right? And I think
Ben gone. It was Bregman who left.
Bregman, thank you.
And King Tuck. They lost King Tuck.
They traded King Tuck.
That was stupid. But
so yeah, losing those 2 is big for them, but I think they'll still be a good threat because I think they, as a team, they still have a good chemistry, and Altuve is still going to be like that locker room leader for them guys. So I think they'll have a good chemistry overall. I think it'll give them a good shot.
Yeah.
All right, Mike got me more confident. I'll go now. If you want. I again, Yankees are going to be 4. It's whoever doesn't win the AL East is going to be 4.
Yeah.
So it's Baltimore. It's going to be Yankees. So I picked Baltimore. So obviously Yankees up.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think they're going to be great, but they'll probably win 93. I just think the O's will probably win 95. It's going to be really close, but
it's going to be really close. Yeah. I actually think it'll be like 1 game.
Yeah.
I don't like calling it at 1 game because it's a lot. Like it's weird. Like,
yeah, no, I get you.
I get you. 5, I'm also going to say Mariners, and you guys didn't like this pick when I said that they were going to surprise people in the last episode.
Like this pick.
because their pitching is fantastic.
Yeah.
Their pitching is amazing. Like the top 3 pitching in baseball, I don't think you can argue that.
No.
Like 100%. Top to bottom, they are a top 3 rotation in baseball. The only reason that they didn't make the playoffs last year is because they could not hit the broad side of a barn.
Yeah.
Everybody was on a slump at the same time. I mean, Philly's had similar problems, but at least Philly was better.
I think we just got out of it.
Philly
They have more
had enough
talent. Phillies have
guys
more
doing
talent than
well.
Seattle. I mean, I'll give you that. But like, Julio had a terrible year. Cal Raleigh had a terrible year. Like, I understand there isn't a whole lot outside of them, but you have Randy Rosarena there too, by the way.
That'll be the. I think that's going to be
You've
a
got
key
Victor
thing.
Robles there, who has always been kind of streaky. But if he's got the type of team that like the Nats had, where it's like you have great pitching and then you've just got enough firepower, like you've enough guy, like you have Julio is like your Soto role. You got Cal Raleigh, maybe a Rendon type. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, all they have to do is play to their potential, and I think they're easily in a weak AL. And my 6, honestly, I'm between like 2 or 3 teams. Like, I think it's going to be a crapshoot.
I do think so as well. I'm curious
Honestly,
to hear
I'm between
what
3
those
right
teams-
now. I've got some combination of Baltimore, Houston, or Cleveland.
Wait,
But
Baltimore?
or
Baltimore?
Boston,
Okay, I was going to
Cleveland.
say. Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore's in. Boston, Cleveland, or Houston, and honestly, I'll probably go Cleveland. I don't trust Houston. That one's probably gonna be the one that bites me. But I bet against Houston before. It never tends to go very well for me. But they looked outmatched by Detroit last year, and they got worse. I don't think you could say that they got better. Like, yeah, they got a couple of guys. Christian Walker is gonna be good for them. Who'd they get? Paredes? Was it the other
They
guy?
got Paredes as like. the
He'll
big
be
guy in
good too,
Detroit.
but Altuve's getting older. They're moving him to the outfield, by the way.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he's going to the outfield.
He caught his first fly ball
Altuve?
the other day.
Yeah,
Left
yeah.
field.
Yeah, so not a good sign.
Alright.
Their pitching is not great. They
You think?
they're 3-headed monster that are all gone. Verlander just left, and I understand Verlander wasn't great, but Verlander was solid for him. It's a lot of unproven factors for me for Houston, and I think that if it's a battle of young talent, which it sounds like it is, I don't think that they could outdo Detroit or KC or teams like that. I just don't think that they're going to be able to match up, because I don't think that they have that extra step. Like, Yordan is good, but I think Yordan's going to get pitched around.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to if Jose Altuve can be a locker room leader and build those guys up. Like that's the biggest
or Yordan
thing.
too.
Yeah, or
If the two of
Yordan.
them
Definitely
can-
Jordan's got to step into
Yeah.
it a little bit.
Yeah,
Because Yordan plays, he's a 3 true outcome hitter. He's never been anything else.
100%.
So that's his
100%.
problem. Altuve's tends to be get rallies started, but if you don't need a homer, Yordan's not really going to help.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't see it happening. And Cleveland was good. I'm not sure that they're going to be great this year, but in a jam-packed fight for mediocrity, I think they're going to be good enough. Their pitching is good. Their offense was good last year. They have some young pieces. They're not great, but I think that they'll be good enough in a very weak division. Historically, I mean, they get to play the White Sox, so.
Yeah, that always does help.
And I think Detroit takes a step back too. Not necessarily they got worse. I just think they played so far above their potential this year that I don't think they can do it again.
I think a lot of it just came because of the fact they got hot at the very end of the year.
Right. And teams got cold. Like Seattle fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Texas fell off a cliff.
Well, Texas was just dead.
Yeah. Well, they just didn't win a game.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that they're there yet. I don't think they have the pieces. I think they were really young. But I like Detroit. I think they're a fun team. I just don't think that they're going to make it.
That's fair.
All right, Nick, your turn.
All right. I guess I'll start with the fourth one, which for me, since I picked the Yankees, I will say Baltimore. But I do think it's going to be somewhere within that. Like, some team I think is winning like 99 games, the other one's winning like 97, and just going to get shafted at the 4 spot.
Yeah.
There's always one team that ends up in this spot. There's always one team who wins like 95 games or something like that most of the season, and then they magically end up having to play the wild card.
They always play
and
somebody that beats them too.
And I think it's going to be Baltimore solely because of like the starting pitching. I think it's going to hurt them in the long run. And I think they will add up at the deadline because I think they have to. especially if they run into any injuries. They run into any injury problems, especially with like Grayson or Zach Eflin. They have
Well,
to.
if Grayson's not a bona fide number one, then they'll get a new guy. They'll
Yeah.
get somebody.
They'll go and get somebody.
Now, I
That's what I
trust
believe.
Grayson. I've seen Grayson pitch. He's dominant when he's on. But
Mm-hmm.
if he can't control, it's over.
Yeah, so I think they'll probably end up adding a big time guy at the deadline, but I think the Yankees will just barely hold on. So the second one, I'm gonna say the Rangers, because I do believe, like I said, I also think the AL West race is gonna be pretty close as well. I'm willing to lean a bit more to the Astros. I like their youth upside, especially the pitching was pretty good for a lot of the guys they had last year, given all the problems they had last year, and they're getting a lot of these guys back for the most part. And again, I saw this video talking about Isaac Paredes, and he's pretty much like the perfect guy to play in Houston because of how he pulls a lot of balls to left field. The Rays use that, and then trade him to the Cubs, and he was terrible there. Because I saw is the Rays had the second shortest left field in all of baseball, and then the Cubs had the longest, and he was terrible with the Cubs. Well, guess who has the shortest?
Confines.
Well, guess who has the shortest left field in all of baseball?
I'd say Minute Maid, but it's not called that anymore.
Yeah, I think is it not Minute Maid anymore?
HVAC something.
Yeah, some weird name. They changed it.
Well,
But,
it's an HVAC company. I don't know what the
yeah.
name of it is.
Yeah.
But no, I still think it's gonna. But I think that's gonna help big time for the Astros. But I think with the Rangers, they had so much go wrong. From their hitting, like Adolis Garcia falling off a cliff, Seager getting hurt, Simeon taking a step back, Jonah Heim being terrible, Evan Carter being terrible, from pretty much their entire pitching staff getting hurt or being bad outside of Evaldi. So I just don't see a world where the Rangers have that happen 2 years in a row. I don't remember how they finished last year. I think they finished with like 79 or 80 wins or something like that.
I think 80 and 82.
Yeah. And even that, they still
87.
almost finished 500 despite how disastrous that season was for
Look
them.
it up real quick.
And yeah, fact check that for me.
Yeah, 78.
But
for the
78 and 84.
Yep.
And like I said, 3 wins from being 500 when everything went wrong for them last year. I truthfully believe you keep most of that team healthy to a degree, and their pitching staff doesn't completely all fall into the bin. They win 87 to 90 games easily. I think they win 91 games.
That's why we have them winning the division.
I think the Astros are going to win like 92, 93.
DeGrom is back.
We'll see how long he stays healthy. But
We'll see. But he's back.
but I
Apparently, he looks like his old self.
Yeah.
is what
I
I
do
was
think
told.
the Rangers sneak into that number 2
99 to
spot.
102.
Do sneak,
There we go.
like, not sneak, but like comfortably fall in that number 2 spot. After number 3, see, I'm kind of in the same boat with you with 3 teams. It's just one of them you're going to absolutely hate me for. So I'm like on the fence with them. So it's Cleveland's 1, Detroit's another.
Sure.
The last one I have is the Rays.
I mean, it's a choice. It's not a choice
And
I would make, but it's a
What
choice.
I think's gonna happen, and this is again, I think the last spot's gonna be an absolute mess. I think whoever wins is winning 84 games max, and I'm gonna say it's the Rays. It sounds insane. I'm going the Tampa Bay Rays to take the last spot, and here's why. It kind of falls on the same argument with, how you view the Mariners, where they have really good pitching, and it's all back and healthy. They got Rasmussen back. They have McClanahan back. They're gonna get a full season out of Shane Baz. Ryan Pepiot was amazing from what they got out of that trade with the Dodgers. And guys like Todd Bradley and Zach Littell were really reliable back-end starters with a bullpen that I think is consistent, and it's always been consistent in Tampa. All you're asking from the Rays, I think kind of the same argument. That's why I kind of lead back on that argument, the Mariners. All you're asking out of them is not like bottom 3 hitting in baseball. And I truthfully believe bringing in Christopher Morel, signing Hassan Kim, and bringing in Danny Jansen, while it's not incredible signings, they're going to make that offense better from what it was before, which was light and unable to send a ball over the fence outside of Paredes.
My issue, a couple issues. Whomst is the star. Because with every miracle team, there is a superstar. There always
Rays?
has to be. There's somebody, it's like, he is the man. He is the guy that the fans rally around. He's the captain, basically. He kind of takes on that kind of role.
Would
And
you
he gets
say-
everybody fired up, and then
Would you say
everybody
hitter or
goes.
pitcher? Or?
Doesn't matter. Whomst is the star. Julio is that for the Mariners. No question.
I would say it's either McClanahan or it's Yandy Diaz, because Yandy's been there for a while, and he's
Yeah,
been reliable
but-
as much as you can ask for him.
That's my issue. He's been reliable. He hasn't been. Does he have the ability to transcend?
I think so.
Second, they're playing at the Yankees spring training facility.
That's going to be a big thing.
Now, I understand they don't have much of a home field advantage as you know, to begin with. That stadium was not great.
And now
we'll
it's
say.
been torn up by the hurricane, which will
Well,
be
it was prison, and now it's unfortunately
a demolished
roofless.
prison.
And I feel for anybody who's still affected. My grandfather lives there, and he's still
Yeah.
affected. He still got flooding, but not a dig at that by any means. But I will say that's going to be tough. That's going to be
It's
tough
going
to
to be
play.
really tough.
And to tell you the truth, ever since they lost Wander Franco, that team has been in a tailspin. Their identity's gone. They have been kind of in spin cycle. They were good because they had this ability to be scrappy and to work around each other and to depend on the other guy, almost like a Moneyball situation.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that anymore. They just don't have the young core because they lost it all at the same time. Because they paid Franco. They never pay anybody. And then they paid him, and it didn't work out. So now they don't pay anybody again. I don't see their offense doing anything at all. They've
That's
never
fair.
had a fantastic offense. Their
No.
offense has been good, but it's never been great.
And
And
last year was
I'm not sure
abysmal.
that if you put Mariners and Rays in somebody's getting the 6th seed, I'm not sure you can fight against the Mariners there. Because they have better pitching. They have a better pitching staff. You cannot deny that.
No, I will not say that. The Mariners had the best pitching staff 1 to 5 in baseball.
Yeah,
No question.
easily, top to
Yeah.
bottom. But you also have a better offense in Seattle than you have in Tampa. So you have a better pitching staff.
If you do, it's not by much.
The only thing the Rays have is a bullpen, and their bullpen is. I mean, it's good. I'm not sure it's transcendent. I'm not sure that their bullpen is going to win them games, especially if they can't score. But that's my issue. I'm not sure I see an all-star here outside of McClanahan. Who else is on the all-star team? Like, that's my concern. Is like teams like this have to have somebody to rally around. I mean, I keep bringing up the 2019 Nationals, but they had several all-stars. Their pitching staff full of monsters, and they just had one guy. They had Rendon.
I think
And
it's
then
just
they
going
got
to fall
Soto at the
around.
end. Like, they had Soto coming in. He was supposed to be Harper's replacement, and he was.
Mm-hmm.
And they just
Better
rallied around
replacement.
those two. They had Trey Turner coming in, too. You had guys who were scrappy around them, and they just got hot. I'm not sure that the Rays have the offensive core to do anything because they traded
Yeah.
them all away.
I think it's going to fall on the two guys they have had as all-stars in Brandon Lau and Yandy Diaz. They both have been, I think, either 1 or 2-time all-stars. They have guys who are offensively talented. It's just between last year and just everything that kind of transpired with what you said, it kind of been kind of lost afloat. I think this season is going to be one of those seasons where, again, this is a pick that could blow up in my face. I'm fully aware of that. I think it's one of those seasons where this kind of season is either going to bring an entire unit together with what happened, almost like the 2009 Saints, or it's going to be a complete train wreck from start to finish. Take this year's 49ers as an example. I think these kind of seasons either bring people together or tear them apart. And I think this is going to bring a lot of this team together, especially with Kevin Cash. Like, I think he's a top 5 manager in baseball, truthfully.
Well, I will say our 6 picks, like our number 6 seeds, it's all kind of banked on the same thing. It's all going to be, between Cleveland, Houston, and Tampa somebody's going to have to rally
Step
around the
up.
team and step up. And it's just a matter of who that's going to be.
No, and I think you're on the money with that. I think it's because the American League is going to be a lot more of kind of a crapshoot where it was the last few years. Whereas, like the National League, I feel like you would say, I think fairly, there's like 7 teams, and then the rest stink.
Yeah. But do you want to move into National League?
No, I think we can. Do you want me to go first for the National League since I was last?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, I'll start with the first wild card, which I'm gonna say it's the Phillies. Again, I think, like I said, it makes me sick to my stomach saying I think the Mets are gonna be the best team in the National League, but
Whoa, what pause?
Hmm?
What did you say?
I think the Mets are gonna have the best record in the National League. It's the reason I don't think the Phillies are gonna end up
Over
as
the
this,
Dodgers?
Over the Dodgers.
possibly.
Now, I know that we've had this conversation. I'm not a big Dodgers World Series favorite guy.
I don't think
but
they're gonna have the best record in baseball, so
the Dodgers are going to have the best record in baseball.
There's no
I don't
question.
think so.
There's no question. Unless their whole team falls down and dies right there on the spot.
You're
The
pretty
Dodgers are going to
savage.
have the best
They'll
record.
I
win
love the
105
Dodgers.
games.
I think they win 97.
Okay.
All right.
I think the Mets win.
But
Somehow that's a hotter take than all of your. I don't care who you put as your wild card. You could, put the
Yeah.
Pirates as a wild card, and that's a hotter take. The Mets, get out of here.
I think the Phillies are going to
You're
do
just
well. I
trying
think
to
they're going to
start
finish the same place they did before, 93, 94 wins. And probably fall short.
I told you every time you say that we're gonna do it, and we.
I know.
We've
I
been
know.
shaking our heads every single time.
I know.
Next.
Yeah, second one.
Get us more heated. Come on.
Get some more.
I'm going to say the Padres.
Okay.
That's fine.
I would be
fine.
shocked if the Padres didn't end up, like, competing with the Dodgers
For what?
title.
What?
I think they're gonna fall short, like decently, but like I think they're gonna keep it competitive for a while.
What is
Shohei
in the
needs to
air
break
at
his
home?
arm for that to even be an option.
But I do believe the Padres are gonna probably get the 5 seed.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
As for the 6 seed, it's kind of just been I've been like flipping a coin mentally between Arizona and Atlanta.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Arizona, and the reason being, literally they had like the 3rd worst starting rotation, or like 4th worst, and then they blew the 2nd most saves in baseball. Like, you have a pitching staff that's not bottom 5 in baseball. They cruise into the playoffs and not have to rely on a tiebreaker because of stupid weather with the Mets and Braves to have to clinch a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
just got Josh Naylor
And Corbin
Taylor.
Burns.
and Corbin Burns to replace
sad.
Jordan Montgomery. I know it's gonna hurt, but I truthfully think if you bring in Corbin Burns and Josh Naylor over, and I think Christian Walker's great, by the way, and I still think Josh Naylor's not a crazy upgrade, but like a slight upgrade to what Christian Walker is in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be surprised. I don't think it's going to be the craziest thing in the world if the Braves were to upend Arizona for that final spot.
I see.
But I think it could go either way. I'm just not. I think the Braves had a lot of things kind of go right in a season where a lot of things also went wrong, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got you. And I use both of those teams in mind, so I'll kind of wrap into that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, honestly, my 4 is Bravos. I'm going Braves.
Really?
Yeah, their offense is
Okay.
great. They have a top 3 offense in baseball. They just
Yeah.
everybody got hurt. Everybody got hurt. There's not one guy on that team that was there the whole time except Matt Olson. And Matt Olson couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat last year. I don't know what happened, but he couldn't hit nothing.
It
And
had
I-
to be like 170.
What probably, well, yeah, what had to have happened is he was the only guy there, so he just got pitched terribly. He got just
What
absolutely.
about Ozuna?
Well, I mean, yeah, but like, you can't rely on a couple, like one or two guys, especially when they're not both playing well. Like, he couldn't hit anything. His swing looked terrible. But Acuna's going to be back this year. Albies is going to be back the whole year. Michael Harris is going to be back the whole year. That team is loaded.
I mean, the question with the Braves is going to be because Acuna's torn both his ACLs.
Well, yeah, that's true. But, I mean, he's a superstar. And until he's not, he's a superstar. And there's just no way to argue that. I'm just saying they had a series of unfortunate events last season, and their pitching stepped up, and they got lucky. They shouldn't have made the playoffs, but their pitching was good enough. And now they have Spencer Strider coming back at some point. I think late May, early June is what I heard.
Something like that, yeah.
But they've got him coming back. He's a star. Chris Sale is great. I don't know where that came from, but he's very good. They lost Freed. That's not good. They lost Freed. That's not helpful. But they've got the talent, and I think people sleep. They are honestly probably the most underrated team in baseball.
I agree.
Like nobody thinks they're gonna do anything because the Mets got Soto, or the Phillies are great, but the Braves have been as good, if not better, than every team in baseball not named the Dodgers.
I mean, there's a reason they have a World
consistent-
Series and the Phillies and Mets don't.
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
consistently
Yeah,
in
they're
at least the
consistent.
DS. Every year they're in the DS, if not more. They've made the championship series a couple times. They've won the World Series in the last couple of years. Like, they're great, and the pieces are there, and they have the best GM in baseball. He's ridiculous.
You think AA is the best GM in baseball?
Acuna is signed for like $100 million for 8 years.
Yeah.
His contract is outrageous. Michael Harris is the same thing. Ozzy Albies, same thing. I don't know what the heck he's doing. But he signs them the second they're decent, and then they just take it. I have no idea what he's doing or how he's doing it, but it's fantastic. The business model is amazing.
I think part of it's also what the culture they build around with Brian Snicker.
Yeah, I think Snicker is a great manager. I think
He's
they're going to
a
be 4.
phenomenal
I mean, that
manager.
being said, Mets are going to be 5. They're in the playoffs. Like,
Yeah.
You think the Mets are going to be worse than the Braves?
yeah, I do. I don't trust the Mets. Until the Mets are good, the Mets are the Mets.
Yep.
Sorry. They got
I think that's
streaky
fair.
at the right time last year, and the Phillies choked. So, sorry. I
Yeah.
don't mean that to be.
No, I mean, you're on them.
But,
I live streamed it. I live streamed my pain for a
But
reason.
my 6, Diamondbacks. Padres are out.
You think the Padres are out?
Well, that's 6. I don't
Well,
have
I
any
mean,
teams
yeah.
left.
I'm just curious about that.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be a battle for second in the NL West. Dodgers gonna win it by 10 games like they do every year.
Yep.
It'll be over September 4th, but
Yep.
All right.
but it's gonna be a battle for second. And to tell you the truth, ever since Machado got there, it has been a locker room problem in San Diego. It's not necessarily entirely him, but that team is not built to work for each other.
They're a bunch
just-
of
they don't-
individuals.
Yeah, they don't do that, and they're losing pitchers. All of a sudden, everybody's on the trade block. Has been the rumor all off season. Michael King, is he still there?
The King and Cease are both still there.
Yeah, Cease was on the trade block this year.
Yeah, they both have been, and
Yeah.
they're both still there.
Exactly. So it doesn't strike me with a whole lot of confidence that they're willing to shop guys. I think that they are a bad April and May from shopping guys. I think they will blow the team up.
You think if they start slow, they'll blow it
Oh
up?
yeah, easily. Oh yeah, they almost blew it up in December. I mean, Machado has been there, and they've been good enough. They've had some good playoff runs. I'll give them that. They were. I mean, shoot, if they didn't lose 3 games in a row, they beat the Dodgers last year. But
They chose.
I'm not sure that they have the magic to do anything in what is going to be an absolute monster of a National League. And the Diamondbacks, like you said, they have great pitching, and their offense played horribly last year. Corbin Carroll didn't do anything till September, and they still should have made the playoffs.
It was the
All
opposite.
Corbin Carroll's
last
got to be decent.
He was great the second half of the year.
He was, but he was so
He was
unbelievably
so bad the first half of the year. I had him in fantasy. It was miserable.
That was a mistake. But
He was a mistake.
But I mean, they got Corbin Burns. They've got a great pitching staff. Zach Gallen is a monster. I mean, I don't even know who the
Mario
opening
Kelly
day
is so
starter is
good
going
as
to be.
well.
But their bullpen is not great.
Don't they still
But
have Eduardo
all
Rodriguez?
Their bullpen's just got to be okay. That's it. Just okay, and as long as their offense plays to what they can do, I think that they want it more than the Padres. and that's what it's going to come down to. If there's a late September game between Padres and D-backs to decide the playoffs, the D-backs want it more.
That's interesting. All right.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
All right, I guess it's my turn.
What's the boy? What's the boy Mikey got?
Number 4 for me is Padres. I think even though they are a bunch of individual guys, big me guys, I think they still have so much talent that it's going to be hard for them to not be a competing team for a top wildcard spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just not beating out the Dodgers. Like, there's just no shot. So.
And I feel like if a team was floating in this out, they would have traded Cease or King.
Yeah.
And then they also kept a hold of Arias, brought in Elias Diaz from the Rockies, stolen for nothing essentially.
Yeah.
And brought in Nick Pivetta on a cheap deal. Which again, I'm not saying Nick Pivetta is amazing or anything, but to have him as a 5 starter, that's a good deal.
Yeah. So, and then my 5 is Atlanta, and then 6 is Mets. So basically, just piggybacking off of Zach. Like, instead of them being
But
4,
we all
5,
agree it's a
5, 6.
14 race.
100%.
Yeah.
There's nobody
Maybe.
else that's
Whoever wins the Central is getting it. So it's either Cubs or Brewers at this point for like the 4th, 5th year in a row or some crap.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we've got those out of the way, I got a question.
Yes.
So every year, it seems like there's a magic team. There's a team that they won't necessarily make the playoffs. Last year, Detroit did. They were the magic team, and they blew everybody's mind, and it was fun, and it was exciting, and it's a team that you want to root for. I want to know, who is that magic team this year?
Crap.
Not making the playoffs this year. Or last year. They did not make the playoffs last year. You can't, pick.
I'm going to get clowned for mine.
But it has to be a team that's fun, and you got to be able to say, like, what?
All right.
Okay. I have mine. I don't want to say it, though.
I know mine.
All right.
Do you want me to start it?
Heads or tails?
Heads.
All right, go.
I bet. So mine is the Toronto Blue Jays. And for one reason only.
Okay.
Vladdy. Just Vladdy. Nah, that's not the only reason. I think starting pitching wise, their rotation isn't bad. Like Kevin Guzman, Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, and Alek Manoah. Like those are 4 pretty good arms. They're gonna give you good starts.
I mean, they did get Mad Max, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, and they got Scherzer coming as well. That's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
And then to close it out, they got Yimmy. Their bullpen is.
They also got
Okay.
Jeff Hoffman.
Yeah.
Phillies legend.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. For batting, of course, Vladdy. They got Vladdy. They got Bo. And I want to say Alejandro Kirk. I forgot about him. Catcher.
Big man.
Yeah. Solid catcher. And then you got Santander, you got Springer, you got Varsho.
Oh, they did get Santander.
They got Andres Jimenez as well.
Yeah, and Andres Jimenez.
Hey, they're going to be a fun team.
Yeah, I think they have potential
yeah.
as a team. There is potential for that team to do very well.
That team's a lot better than when I first looked at it.
Yeah, I know. Same.
That's true. What do you got, Nick?
See, okay, so there's been this running joke with with the three
You're
of us.
not doing it again.
I am going to do it again because you know what?
No.
For people wondering, I picked this team in 2022 to be the 6th seed in the National League, and then I picked them in 2023 to be the 6th seed in the National League. At least in 2020, or was it 3 straight years have I done it? 2?
I don't know. Probably.
You didn't do it this year.
Wouldn't
This would have been the
surprise me.
third.
No, it was 3 years because that 3 years ago was when they lost 100+ games.
Yeah, and then the year after you said they were going to make the playoffs, and the most exciting thing that happened to them that season was when they went 3-25, and a guy on Reddit said he was going to take a dump in the truck.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago. That was 3 years ago. Yeah, it was the year after COVID. So yeah, I've done this for 3 years actually, in 2022, in 2023, and in 2024. So, am I doing it again? Hell yes.
Yes, you are.
For people wondering who this team is, if given the fact that Zach talked about the taking a dump in the truck, it's the Reds. Here's what frustrates me with the Reds. they have such a good rotation 1 through 5. They have so much depth in their starting rotation. And they have such an exciting offense when they are playing at their best. From Ellie to TJ Friedel, Gavin, they just got in Gavin Lux. Matt McClain is an all-star. Tyler Stevenson is I think a top 5 catcher in the National League when he's playing at his best. His defense is so good, and nobody talks about it. You have guys like Spencer Steer and Christian Encarnacion Strand, who's got so much pop. Like, this team should be so much better than what they've constantly given out to the fans, which is like, say for the 2 years ago where they lost, where they started the year off 3-25 when that team was terrible. But the last 2 seasons, they've been sitting around this 500 mark, and it's been the same story every single time. Their bullpen has been horrific. And does this year fix it? I don't know. I would believe keeping a hold of Brent Suter and bringing in guys like Taylor Rogers and Scott Barlow from Cleveland. Those are reliable names to pair with Diaz, Sam Maul, and Brent Suter. This team should be fun to watch. And I think if they get hot, can pull what the Detroit Tigers did at the end of the season. I really do believe that. There's just too much talent for it to be wasted this season.
Well, you said that 2 years ago, too.
I've said it for 3 straight seasons.
Yep.
Well, the one I was just badly run, but the 2 seasons prior.
The team I want to pick is that's the same boat, so I'm not going to do it. But that was Pittsburgh. I thought about it, but Pittsburgh, they don't invest in their team.
They got
Incorrect.
schemes. They got schemes.
Bob Nutting sucks as a member from Pittsburgh.
Their
He
rotation's
sucks.
pretty good, but their offense is really bad.
Bob Nutting is the worst thing that ever happened to Pittsburgh from a Pittsburgh native.
But my
Schemes
real
can only do so
pick,
much.
and you guys are going to hate me,
If it's what I think it is, yes.
give me the Athletics.
Boo!
Crazy.
Bad pick.
Absolutely insane. From
Bad
They're,
pick.
okay,
Bad
but
pick.
Brent Rooker is a star. He's
I
great.
still
Yes.
can't believe they've
He's
kept
great.
a hold of him.
They have kept him because they're building around him. And last year, they had so much trouble with their whole leaving Oakland thing and all the drama around it, and everybody's yelling sell the team. I know the players heard that. Like, I'm sure a lot of them probably agreed with it. But that's a big distraction to have looming over your franchise. So much so that everybody kind of forgot that Lawrence Butler had a fantastic season.
I remember.
He
I remember too much.
He stole, what did he steal, 50 bases?
I think you're thinking of Esteury Ruiz.
Oh, that was Ruiz, wasn't it? Well, Lawrence Butler had a great year last year,
No,
regardless.
he was hammering everything in sight.
And they're slowly collecting useful guys. They're collecting like Shea Langoliers, Soderstrom, Miguel Andujar,
Zach Geloff.
JJ Bleday, like useful guys that will be helpful. Luis Severino's their ace now. That's pretty good.
It's such an interesting get as well. I
And
will
they
give
paid
him a lot
him.
of credit for that. 'cause
They're
that was-
actually spending money now.
Yeah.
They've actually they dished out like 3 contracts this season, which is big for them.
Yeah. I mean,
And you can't tell me that it wouldn't be electric to see a playoff game with 3,000 seats.
oh, it would be. It would be crazy.
Tell me that wouldn't be
Outfield
awesome.
just covered in blankets
'Cause-
and lawn chairs.
Yeah, exactly,
It
exactly.
would be wild.
That would be amazing.
be
Talk
sick.
about a team to root for. I'm rooting for that. I don't even care about how the team does. I'm rooting for a playoff game in Sacramento.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting though because their top 2 guys are not the same guys anymore. Like it's Severino, like you said, and their number 2. I think this will be an interesting one because I loved watching this guy pitch when he's healthy. It's Jeffrey Springs from the Rays.
You think he's there too? I don't know. JP's
He
pretty
is.
good too. JP
He is
Sears.
there too, 100%. If Jeffrey Springs is healthy, he's there too. JP Sears is reliable as like a mid-tier starter, but he's not like a top 2 guy.
Not even Seth Brown is another guy who's not talked about at all, but he's a platoon DH.
Hell,
I mean, you platoon
They
him
brought in
with
Jose Leclerc
Yeah.
Yeah,
from their rivals.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, this team is gonna be fun.
And I mean, don't forget about Mason Miller either. Come close the game out.
Electric.
Yeah,
Absolutely
102.
electric.
102
Yeah.
When he's
just
not
casual.
punching a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But
Oh, that's what happens when you come
like,
out the death metal.
that's what I said. This exercise is not who's gonna make the playoffs. It's who's gonna be fun. And who has a chance to do something fun. And tell me it wouldn't be fun in September to watch the A's fight for a playoff spot against the Astros. Tell me that wouldn't be cool.
No,
It
that
would be
would be
sick.
sick.
I think
feel
it's
like we
going to
all picked
happen. I
good
think that they're
picks.
going to be better than people give them credit for.
I feel like we all pick good, fun teams to watch. I feel like.
We'll see. This will age really well.
Imagine
Because
all
one of
three
them is going to be
teams-
terrible.
like,
Between the three,
Imagine,
one of them is
imagine
going to be
all three
really
lose
bad.
100 games.
Oh, that'd be terrible.
No way.
We have to have some kind of punishment for that. We'll come up with
Should we
something.
put? Yeah, let's say we'll figure out for next time. I feel like we'll do something here to see who has the worst record between the three of us.
Yeah, we'll make some kind of bet and we'll do it all.
But,
and come back.
But I guess kind of going in with
All they got to
after
do is be
that,
better than the White Sox, and they'll be fine.
I think
Not hard.
I think college softball could play better than the White
Hey, what are you
Sox.
trying to say about college softball? I love watching college softball. What are you talking about?
I think high school baseball could play better than the White Sox.
I don't know about all that.
I think there's
They have a
there's
glorified
some,
single A roster out there.
there's some
Now,
good D2
I'm not saying there's
programs
not
out
some
there.
AAA teams that could probably beat the White Sox. But anything outside of that, that's a different conversation. I'd love to have that conversation about the difference between college and pro sports, but
Oh yeah,
not right now.
no, I think that's fair.
But yeah, the White Sox are bad.
So bad.
And Luis Robert is there. That's good though.
Yeah.
Him and one army.
Him.
Him and Ben intended.
Yeah, him. And just him.
But I guess rolling into another thing, I was sitting there with. It was late last night. I was sitting and watching bits of the combine with my dad, and I think the combine is interesting, but it's one of those things where, unless, like I said, unless your job is a scout, you're not gonna really watch it. I'll see bits and pieces of it, especially for me. I'll always watch the workouts with like the offensive and defensive linemen. One, because I am, as a Seahawks fan, I'm like the kid looking through the looking glass. Like, please come to Seattle. We need linemen. But it's one of those things where I was looking forward to watching bits of it, but I don't know. Did you two ever get a chance to watch the combine or even just highlights online?
Not this year.
Waste.
Waste.
I don't watch.
Waste
You
of
think?
time. Absolute waste of time.
I don't watch the
It
combine.
accomplishes nothing that a pro day can't cover. It is not the combine of my childhood. Because I remember when we were in school, turning on the combine in February, and it gets you all excited for the draft because all your favorite players are out there, and they're running 40s against each other. They're outlifting each other. They're going broad jumps. They're doing the shuttles. They're doing the whatever the one where you catch the passes back and forth. And everybody was there. It was, to get a combine invite was a dream come true for all of these people. Now, nobody cares.
Dang.
And I have, everybody's opting out. Like,
Yeah.
the Mel Kiper, which is, I would suggest is the widely assumed draft guru. I mean, he's the one with the big board. He ranks the guys, right? His top 10. One guy in his top 10 participated in the combine. Just one.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, his top 10. I'll go down the list. It'll be Travis Hunter's number 1. He didn't work out. Abdul Carter didn't work out.
He got hurt, so.
Mason Graham didn't work out. Genty, Shador Sanders, Cam Ward, Tyler Warren, Jalen Walker, Will Johnson. The only one of the top 10 is number 10, Will Campbell. The tackle from LSU is the only
Jency
one who
didn't
worked
work
out.
out?
No, none of them did. Because they don't want to. Why would they?
No.
It hurts their draft stock, is the reason that they all used. That
Plus-
there's nothing they could do to it. Like, Cam Ward said it best. Just watch my tape if you want to see what I can do.
Yeah. Plus, there's so
If-
much chance
if that's
it
the
can hurt.
case, if that's the case, why do we have it? Why is it there? And everybody's saying, oh, it's got the interviews, it's got everybody in one place, like it's got the medical, exams that Abdul Carter found the extra injury. But why can't you do that at a pro day? They all go to their pro day anyway because they can control their own environment. And I respect it, but at some point the combine is useless. This year it accomplished nothing. The only thing that it did is provide guys that weren't going to be top 10 draft picks to have a chance to be a top 10 draft. Like that safety from South Carolina was
Or Shamar
electric.
Stewart from Texas A&M.
Like he had probably one of the best combines that has ever been had.
Yeah.
But that's it. Nobody cares. Like, nobody cares about the combine. Nobody watches the combine because none of the people that they could turn on the TV to watch are competing. And if your biggest stars, if it was one or two, I'd be fine. If it was, the Colorado boys decided, hey, we're not gonna compete, that's fine. But for 9 of the top 10 to not compete, not even dress for the workouts, it's a waste of my time. So I didn't watch it because there's no reason for me to watch it. Because if the top 10's already decided in their book, why are we having the combine? Have your pro days. Those are fine. Do your med exams there. You have state-of-the-art medical facilities at your universities. That's what they pay for. So if you're going to do that, have a Zoom meeting with these NFL scouts that you're doing anyway, and just get rid of the combine altogether. There's no point in having it anymore.
See, I do think there's a small problem with that, at least in my eyes, because I think this is the point you brought up, is the fact that it gives the guys who typically don't get the eyes put on them. So, like, we're talking guys round 4 through 7, round 3 through 7, honestly, where most of the time you're not talking about them. Most of the time, most scouts aren't really looking at them until that event. And I hate it sounds superficial, but those are the days where somebody could have their life changed for the better. It also could do the opposite, but there's a lot of people who have been able to raise their stocks or change their trajectory. I mean, the greatest example I give was Xavier Worthy. He was supposed to be like a mid to late second round pick last year. Then he goes and breaks the record, breaks John Ross's 40-meter dash or 40 yard. I said 7 meter, my bad. 40 yard dash record, and he immediately shoots up into the first round as a result, and ends up with KC. I don't think that would have happened had had that event not happened.
I see your point, but since when is the combine about the late round picks? It has never been about the combine. Has always been
much about a spectacle.
The combine has always been about the best of the best competing against each other to see who has the best metrics, and it was competitive. And back in the early 2000s and the 2010s, it was competitive to see, I'm better than you, and I'm gonna prove it because I'm faster than you, I'm stronger than you, I'm more physical than you. But it's just a larger problem in college football. Nobody cares anymore. Like, you could accomplish the same thing. These little guys. I use that term loosely, but the guys who are going to be later round picks that are trying to prove themselves, there are plenty of opportunities to do that. Bowl games, Senior Bowl, Pro Day. You're telling me they can't do that in that combination of things?
Outside of the Senior Bowl, I really don't think so.
Pro Days are designed to do that.
Yeah, for me,
you're telling me if they set up the same level of 40-yard dashes, like the technology is the same. It's not like the NFL has some proprietary thing, especially since they help put on these pro days. You're telling me if Xavier Worthy if they didn't have a combine and he ran a 4.19 or a 4.2 at Texas, nobody would care? They would still go crazy. It would just be, they would be there. And
it's
it'd
just
be more
a matter
tailored.
of who's going to be there is the key thing, because I look at the example with I forget who it was. I think I want to say it was like a Minnesota cornerback who was having a presser on a pro day, and then Travis Hunter was on the other side, and everybody was flocked over to Travis Hunter, hundreds of reporters, and on the other side, one guy sat there and interviewed him. There's going to be that intentional bias for what you said, the top guys, the top fish, that they're not going to pay attention to the people who are going to get looks at later.
How many of these little fish are going to be at the combine? The combine is extremely exclusive. But like the reason that these guys are having this opportunity is because all the top guys are bailing. But all the top guys are like, nah, I'm good. So it gives the fish a chance to go.
I mean, the main thing with that was mainly the quarterbacks. I mean, I get with like...
there's like 4 QBs, like the top 2 didn't throw.
No, they didn't do anything.
At all, because they didn't want to. I mean, not that it's a strong QB class, but it's like, it is more for, at this point, it's more of a winter meetings than it is anything else. It is less about the talent that's there, and it's more about the execs talking to each other and game planning. That's all it is now. Because nobody really cares about the players that are there because the talent that they're going for are not playing. They're not out there competing because they don't want to get hurt and they don't want to do whatever. Like, they don't want to compete. So these smaller guys are getting their chance. Yes, absolutely. They would absolutely get the same chance. A guy that's invited to the combine is going to get noticed at his pro day because you're not inviting a third-string safety to the NFL scouting combine. You're inviting the top 100 players, if that, the top 100 players in the nation.
Yeah.
Maybe 150. I don't know what the number is, but it is the best of the best. It is the best of the best. All of these guys are already noticed. That's how they got there. There's nobody in there that's like, oh, well, we'll give this guy a shot. We'll give him he's a 7th-round pick. He's Mr. Irrelevant, but we'll give him a chance. No, they're top 3 rounds. That's who goes to these things. It is top 3 rounds, maybe top 4 or 5. But these guys are all there because they are likely going to get drafted. And they've already proven through their tape that they're one of the best in the nation. So you're telling me if they go to their schools, that it's not one gonna get them noticed, because it will. They'll be there. Or 2, gonna generate more revenue for the schools because more people will be at the schools. Because they're gonna send scouts to all these pro days. And you could even split it like 1 week per conference or something like that. And you have enough scouting, guys for an organization that can support that. It's easier and it's more convenient. And to tell you the truth, I just am disappointed with the scouting combine. I'm just not sure why it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you could bona fide reason why it's there, because doing it for the little fish doesn't cut it for me. I'm sorry. I respect the hell out of the guys that are working their asses off for them. I do. Like, genuinely. Like, good for them. Like, great job for the guys who performed well. But that's not what this is about.
Yeah. I think the big thing is, too, is, like, there's so much video available nowadays. Like, we have so much video. Like, if somebody really wanted to go do a 40-yard dash and get timed, I'm sure they could go to their college and be like, hey, let me do a 40-yard dash, get my times. They don't need the pro day to tell them to do that. Like, they can go do it whenever. And if they beat the time, like, they're going to get noticed. Like, if they run, like, a 4-1, that's like, oh, hey, yeah, let's get this guy. Let's see where he's getting drafted. So most of the guys that are going to the combine are already noticed, and they've already got plenty of video on them. They don't need to do it anymore. They're good. They've earned their spot. So
I get that.
And it's not for the fans, because there's not enough fans in Lucas Oil to fill it or anything like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just for the execs.
That's fair.
yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I'll try to figure out what the plan is, because I forget when the draft's usually like end of April, right? Who knows? Depending on what our schedules look like, or might shoot something for the draft.
In
but
April, I will be running around with my head cut off. So
you will be getting ready for big time baseball.
that's close to conference playoffs right there.
But I guess kind of jumping from college football to basketball, as I'll get so excited for March Madness, and for people, I guess I'll probably should give this explanation as well. It's a part of the reason why I'm home, as they know, and as probably anybody who watches, whether if it's Silver Ranch or Ferns Hot Take Sports, DSTV, all these. God, I realize I've spent too much time on the internet. But
Only all.
but for all the stuff I've done, I go to Duquesne University, and we are in the Atlantic 10, and actually next year will be our 50th anniversary at Pittsburgh, so looking forward to that. But for our 49th year of the A10, it's the tournament's being hosted at DC at Capital One Arena, and so I've come home, and it's gonna help with me traveling to and from Capital One. So, but
Dukes, I guess.
yeah, we just got a huge win against George Mason, which makes my day because I can't stand George Mason. It's for a lot of personal reasons, but we took down number 2 in the A10 in George Mason, and we got 2 games left. We got VCU, who might honestly just make the tournament automatically, and then St. Louis, who has just an insane offense. They almost put up 100 the same on Saturday. But I wanted to say, was there anything in college basketball that was getting your guys' attention at all?
The Big 12.
Big 12.
Everybody talks about the SEC and how great it is, and I'm not going to knock it. Auburn will probably win
the
the
Alabama
whole thing.
Tennessee game was great.
Oh, goodness.
Good job,
Oh.
that boy.
Yeah, so I had the over on points for that, and Alabama
We all know
folded
how that game
like
ended.
3 times.
That
So
was insane.
Brutal ending.
that wasn't great.
One of the
but-
wildest games I've ever watched.
Oh my goodness, ultimate choke job. But no, honestly, Big 12, they look good. Like everybody, all the attention's on the
Roughly,
SEC and Duke, it's pretty much been the SEC and Duke show all season.
And St. John's.
Houston is great. Houston
Houston's
is
been
a
insane.
solid team. Texas Tech is a solid team. Kansas is always a problem in March. Regardless of their record, they're always a problem in March. The same way that North Carolina is.
Then you got Arizona and Iowa State as well.
Exactly, both ranked. Like they
Even
have come
BYU.
out of nowhere the last 2 weeks. I mean, Houston's always been there, but like the Houston Texas Tech game was great. That was a great game to watch. Houston and Kansas are playing right now. Also a good game. That's why I keep looking up. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the conference championship tournaments. Did you guys have you seen some of the tournament brackets?
I saw a TikTok that showed like a lot of the smaller ones. I saw like,
Sun Belt one?
The Atlantic Suns looked cool.
The Sun Belt is
haven't
weird.
seen it.
Sun Belt is hilarious. I've seen
So-
that one and it's so sick.
So the Sun Belt is
We'll show an
14
image
teams.
right now.
Yep.
It's 14 teams, and 11, 12, 13, 14 played round 1. The winner of those 2, they play the 9 and the 10. And then they go up the ladder until the top 2 seeds, which is South Alabama and James Madison, which they need to win 2 games
2 games, yeah.
to win the conference championship. They are in the semifinals right now.
If you're in the bottom 4, you
Coastal
have to
needs
win
7.
7 wins.
Yes.
Wow,
Coastal needs 7 wins. James Madison needs 2.
that's crazy.
Which I think is insane, but I kind of like it, weirdly enough.
I like madness,
it
but I
called it the
understand
Fun
why they
Belt.
do it. I understand the concept because it provides a better opportunity for the teams that are actually good to make it to March. So, they can win something potentially
Yeah.
and upset somebody because they're going to be most of these schools these automatic qualifiers are going to be 11s, 15s or 16s. And that's pretty much it. There's no way around it. Whoever, they could be the number 1 seed in their conference and they'll still be a 16. But what it does is it almost guarantees that one of their really good teams is going to be in March Madness, which gives them the best opportunity to win a game and make more revenue and, get more fans or whatever.
Yeah.
So I understand why they do, especially the Sun Belt. Like James Madison or South Alabama, whichever one of them's in, are going to do well. They won't beat Duke, but they'll put up
Be a tough one.
some semblance of fight.
Yeah.
But also Cooper Flagg is ridiculous.
Like he just,
You heard he talked about wanting to come back next year.
I heard him.
That's
If he comes
crazy.
back, because he's the number 1 draft pick today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well, we'll see.
No, we'll
what
see.
it is.
I think the big thing for me is I look at because you bring up a good point with that. It helps with teams that need to structure things out a little better. Because I think sometimes with the base tournament, you get a lot more room for upsets. It happened with the A10 last year. I could tell from firsthand. Well, I'd say firsthand experience. I didn't go to Brooklyn for that one, but with it because. Dayton, who was nationally ranked last year and had a guy go into the NBA and Deron Holmes, they were favored by 14 to beat us in the quarterfinals. That was their first game. They had a double bye. Duquesne had to beat, if I remember correctly, St. Louis in the first round, which we smoked because they're like the 14th seed or something like that. And we then played Dayton, and nobody gave us a chance. And what ended up happening was we went and pulled an upset out, and it made for insane basketball, but I think it also, like, that kind of tournament style, when you have a long break and then you still have to win like 3 or 4 games, it makes for it makes it hard to root for the big teams that have to punch their ticket in. But I think it also, I think it adds more excitement with a lot of lower seed teams. Like, while they only had like 8 teams, I look at the NEC, which is the Northeast Conference. Theirs is super simple, but because I look at the upset with do you remember last year was it last year? No, 2 years ago. The biggest upset, it was Farley Dickinson upsetting Purdue, who had Zach Edey on that team, by the way,
I hate
who is
that team.
also in the NBA.
I
But
hated that Purdue team.
But what was funny about that was because the tournament style and because of certain things with Farley Dickinson, like they're being their first year in like Division One basketball or something like that. They weren't supposed to even be in the tournament. It was supposed to be at another school. But that's what makes, I think, like the tournament so big, is that it allows so many chances for it basically puts everybody on a level playing field, which I like. You have the title for a reason, and then you have the tournament, which helps with, I think, a lot of excitement with low level schools. Or not low level, but like the mid major schools.
Yeah, well, it's definitely, it's not feasible to do in any other college sport. I mean, baseball has a version of it with the regional,
Kind of, yeah.
but it's absolutely electric, and you don't even have to be a big basketball fan to watch it. Like, I know everybody watches March Madness. Like, the March Madness brackets, like, it is the first day of March Madness is basically a holiday.
Let me tell you, March Madness, whether if you're watching it or experiencing it live, it's one of the most insane things I could ever tell. I could not recommend people this enough, because I talked to my friends who were working the Pittsburgh March Madness last year. Do you remember what was the big upset last year in March Madness?
I remember there was a bunch of them, but
There was one in specific. It was number 14. It was the number 14
Princeton?
seed. It was Oakland beating Kentucky.
I remember
Where one
Princeton
guy,
was
he
really
made
good.
all season, he made 5 baskets that weren't a 3-point shot. Do you remember this game by chance? It was insane. And then they went, and I forget who it was. I want to say it was like Oregon or something. It took them into like OT. And that one, I think, also had NC State.
Oh, NC State was great. That was a great team.
The Pittsburgh had the most exciting one. And then the next exciting one was the one I went to, where I was covering Duquesne in Omaha, because we had my team that nobody gave a single chance to win took down a Power 5 program in BYU. And then Mark Pope left BYU. I don't remember if he got fired or if they just told him to resign or if he just left. But he then took the job from Kentucky when they fired their coach after the loss to Oakland. It's funny how all these things kind of like spin around.
Can we agree that Saturday is going to be a fantastic day of basketball?
This Saturday? Or not this Saturday, next Saturday?
No, this Saturday.
This Saturday.
Last day of the regular season.
Oh, yeah.
Bama's going to Auburn. Kansas is going to Arizona. Duke's going to UNC. There are some great games of basketball coming.
Wait, let
This
me
Saturday
see.
is gonna be great.
I'm gonna pull up this Saturday.
Like a little precursor to the to all the big major tournaments.
I want to highlight some of these games. You got like you said, you got Alabama, Auburn, got Marquette and St. John's. That's gonna be an insane game.
Oh.
Kentucky and Missouri, which also I would say it would be an even better game, but Missouri did choke that game away
So
against
did Kentucky.
Vanderbilt.
Oh, they did lose
Yeah.
to Vanderbilt? I almost picked them
Yes.
to beat Vanderbilt. but
97-93
Yeah.
in OT.
Stupid
Um,
A&M lost to Vanderbilt, too.
like even Florida against Ole Miss, that's going to be a really underrated game. Duke, UNC, Houston, and Baylor, I think will be a nasty game.
Well, you forget Duke UNC is a huge rivalry, too. Like,
That's what I mean. Yeah.
yeah, it's like that is always a hated one, too.
So it's good. It's gonna be interesting.
As a little precursor to the precursor. Oh, I want to know who comes out of the SEC. Who's the automatic qualifier?
Well, there's a lot of teams I think they're gonna automatically make the tournament.
Winning. Who's
Oh,
winning?
like win the tournament.
Yes.
I'm gonna throw a hat in the ring here. I'm gonna say Vandy.
Excuse me?
I think Vandy takes it.
Winning the conference.
Oh, I thought you meant the tournament.
Yes, the conference tournament
Yeah, I think Vandy takes it.
is
If
winning
not-
the SEC tournament.
I think it's either them or it's gonna be Florida. I don't think it's gonna be like one of these like. I don't think it's gonna be like an Alabama, Tennessee, or Auburn. Because again, the way I look at it, they're obviously gonna want to win the tournament, but I don't think I look at it like sort of like the Dayton game last year with Duquesne. They knew they had their ticket automatically punched, so they weren't as worried. And truthfully, I think those games did not mean as much to them. Because they knew they had their ticket automatically punched for March Madness. They were going to be a 1, 2, 3 seed and not have to worry about anything, regardless of what happens. I think you're going to see a school like Vandy, maybe Florida. I think you could see an A&M, an Ole Miss, somebody who's been really good this season but hasn't matched up with the elite of what the SEC and honestly of college basketball.
Well, I'm gonna hit you with a different one. And yes, you're right. There's probably 8 or 9 teams in the SEC right now that have a punch ticket for various seeds. But what I think you're forgetting is the value of some of these higher seeds. A 1 seed is very important. That drastically changes your path through March.
Mm-hmm.
A 1 versus a 2 is a much different outcome. So a team like a Florida, a Bama, Tennessee's probably clinched a 1, unless they lose first round. But Bama has not. If Bama wins the SEC tournament, which I think they will, they're getting a 1 seed, and I think they have the most to play for. Because I think you could argue that there's probably, you go down, you've got, besides Auburn, Bama, Florida, Tennessee, you've got A&M's got a spot already, Missouri's got a spot, Kentucky's got a spot.
Well, I've seen as far as 10 teams had a spot, because it was like I've seen like even Vandy and Ole Miss have pretty much punched a ticket because there's a grand total of 9 schools currently with 20 wins.
Arkansas is on the bubble too.
Arkansas's on the bubble. Georgia's on the bubble.
Yeah, but I don't think that the bottom half of the SEC can match against the top half. I think Auburn won't care. I don't think Auburn's going to win it because they don't want to.
I don't think they can.
But I think Bama wants the 1 seed, so they're going to play for it, and I think that they're going to get it.
See it. I could see that, especially with the way I watched Mark Sears play. Oh my God, he is insane.
He put that team on his back, and then his defense folded.
I think that tournament is going to be wild to watch. The reason I went Vanderbilt is because they've had one of the best offenses. Ironically, out of everybody in that powerhouse SEC, I think they've been second or third best in the entire SEC in offense this season.
That team can't play defense. The whole, not team, but like the
Their
whole
defense isn't
conference
great
can't-
on defense.
The whole
but-
conference can't play defense.
No. Outside of maybe a Florida, I would say, yeah. And Auburn. Auburn can play some good defense when they're really playing their best basketball. But
Yeah.
outside of that, I would agree with you. But
I think it's going to be Bama. Bama's always just good.
no, they've been
They're
so
always
good.
strong.
There's a reason they're now starting to get guys into the NBA now with Brandon Miller, among others.
Well, they score 90 points a game.
But
Auburn
there's
just
a lot of
scores 100.
guys. There's just a lot. There's just a lot of that in the SEC, which
All
is insane.
offense, no defense.
The Iron Bowl is going to be great. Well, always bet the over on the SEC games.
All right,
Always
you
bet
want-
the over.
Mike,
Except
you want all-
except for Tennessee, Alabama, I guess. But
You want all defense and no offense? Come to the A10.
Yeah.
We've had some. No, I'll never forget. I wasn't at this game, but I had friends. We watched. They
Is it
were
good
covering
defense or
the.
bad shooting?
I'd say for the most part, the first one. I mean, you're not getting the same like crazy high talented guys, but like Loyola Chicago's made runs. Dayton's been a consistently good team.
Is that the
VCU's
Sister
made
Mary
March
team?
Madness. Loyola Chicago, yeah. Loyola Chicago's made deep runs both with the A10 and without. When they were in the Horizon League, I want to say. Like I said, Dayton's put guys in the NBA, and they're a powerhouse program. VCU's made the tournament like every other year. We've had guys like Richmond and George Mason make it here and there, and then my team broke a long drought, and I think has an outside chance to win the tournament this year. Not more than just obviously bias, but I don't think they're going to. I think they're probably going to lose in like the semifinals most likely, but I think they're going to give it another good run like they did last year. Because that conference is, like I said, like one of those, like where the mid majors ones. It's not like those power five, which I would say is like the main four that you would say in college football, and then add the Big East onto it. It's not as good as those, and I 1,000,000% admit that.
I'm just
but
not sure you can beat Dayton. Dayton has to. They have a
I
point
don't
to
know if
prove
we
now.
could beat
They
Dayton
have
as well.
because you have one qualifier out of that conference.
I think you get two. Because VCU's 30th.
Unless VCU doesn't win.
VCU's 30th, and
Well, if VCU wins,
if VCU wins
you're
it all,
getting
then
one.
yes.
But if somebody else, you might get two. But Dayton has to play their way in.
Unless it's Dayton or Loyola Chicago. Or no, Loyola Chicago is most. No, because right now the way the tournament's seeded, Dayton would have to beat VCU to make the finals. As far as I remember looking at the seeding as it currently stands, with 2 games left in the standing in the season. So I think it's going to be... I think VCU gets in regardless of what happens with this tournament, barring them losing in the first game, which I seriously doubt happens with how they've played this year. They've been insane. But I think you're going to see, like... You could see a Duquesne. You could see a St. Louis, a St. Joe's. They've been so unbelievable this year. I think Eric Reynolds might be ending up going into the NBA after this season. He's been playing that good for St. Joe's. And like I said, you're going to see some good conferences. You got that one. We talked about the Sun Belt, who I call the Fun Belt, ironically. My sleeper for the entire March Madness, if it does happen, will be... McNeese State, which if either of you two are on social media, have seen the one video about McNeese State, and if you haven't, I'll send it to you after the recording because it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It was one of my favorite things I've ever seen for hype up in college basketball. But yeah,
I don't know. I want to see somebody fun in March.
that's why
I would love to see Duquesne. I would love to see
Dude,
Duquesne get a
if
run.
Duquesne comes back in the
I want
March,
to watch your live stream, bro.
if Duquesne goes back to March Madness, gotta help my schedule, my life, everything. I already have enough bags under my eyes as it is. I don't need more. Well,
No, I just
I
want to
will
see
love it.
you and your live stream.
I would love it so much.
Duquesne TV, shout out.
Yeah, shout out Duquesne, Duquesne Student Television on YouTube. No, I guess I did shamelessly plug, guys. I know.
It was a little shame, just
My
a
fault.
tad.
Yeah,
Plug it if you want. I love watching it.
but the last thing
Love seeing your reactions.
I wanted to kind of wrap it up with this because one of the last things I was doing when I was at school was I was helping out a class. It was a sports casting class, and I was helping like 3 or 4 groups do like hour-long shows where they talked about like topics around sports. And the last group that came in, they were talking about how well the Four Nations games like kind of impacted the game of hockey. I feel like you got thousands of hockey fans from just those games alone. From more than just America, from Canada, from Finland and Sweden. But we kind of saw how that lasts. Well, I saw parts of it. I was watching it live, I was sitting on the couch watching it every now and then, and that game was insane. It was electric.
Mhm.
I am sad USA lost, but when you lose on a Connor McDavid goal, I feel like you can't do much except kind of just shrug your shoulders and say, "Oh well."
Yeah.
You
They
lose to
weren't
the best
supposed to
player in
win.
hockey.
The U.S. was not supposed to
Yeah.
win.
Yeah,
Canada
when you
was
lose
the
to the
overwhelming
best player.
favorite.
I do find it interesting though, and I want your takes on this, guys. We talked about it briefly, I think, or I think I might have brought it up, or maybe Zach brought it up. I forget. Going into the first game during the round robin. Yeah. In the first game, they played the Star Spangled Banner in Canada, and everybody in Canada booed loud. Like you could hear it overpower the audio. It was that loud.
Yeah.
Well, cycle back when O Canada started playing the Canadian national anthem. Same story. And what I think is interesting with that is, I think it's kind of a lesson here to not be a jerk. It will be the nicest way to say it. Because
That's a nice way to put it.
I don't find a coincidence the country, i.e., the team that booed the other's respective national anthem, proceeded to then lose their game. But I wonder what your thoughts were on like that, like kind of like the scrappiness, because you didn't get that from Canada Finland or Canada Sweden or USA Sweden USA Finland.
Well, there's a lot of, we'll call it uneasiness between America and
Just
Canada,
say
which
politics.
I won't get into.
Just say
but-
politics, yeah.
Yeah. So we're not really friendly. Plus, it's like it's always been in hockey. It's always been big brother, little brother, with Canada always running the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got all the big bad Canadian guys. We own this sport that take it over, and it's been that way for years. And then all of a sudden, you come in and you boo the anthem. I guarantee it got the players hot. I'd have been hot. I
Oh,
personally,
For sure.
without getting into politics at all, I don't support anyone booing anyone else's anthem.
No,
I feel like that's a pretty fair statement. You know,
Yes.
just
No,
if
I
you just have to
agree.
go to the bathroom or something instead, like get out, walk out. But like I don't know. I think there's a lot more to that. But I'm
Oh,
not sure
yeah.
that's. But at the very minimum, it got them hot, and that sent a message,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
leave it to Chucks to send a message, and they got hot.
Yeah. You see some of them hits.
Oh,
Oh
did you see the
my.
fights?
Oh, they were great.
Yeah.
Matthew Tkachuk ended up on the
Fights were
Tonight
bad.
Show after the finals game.
Well, I have never seen a player as excited as Matt Tkachuk was to watch his brother come into the box 3 seconds later. He was bang. You thought he won the Stanley Cup. He was more excited for that than he was winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I think what I think will be interesting, and I want to get your takes on this. Will be one of the last things, kind of like to kind of wrap it up. But there was a discussion with Gary Bettman, the commissioner for the NHL, and they were asking would he bring back the game, and he said, I don't know yet. Do you think they should bring it back going forward rather than have like the traditional All-Star weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you expand it. Realistically, you've got
Yeah, like
player-
8 teams.
Yeah, 8 nations, maybe 6. I know there's 6 for sure.
What would be the other two?
Well, Russia's one.
Mhm.
I mean, you can. It just
Maybe, like,
depends on who's in the
Norway?
league at the time. Norway, Slavic somewhere,
Yeah, possibly.
somewhere cold. But no, I mean, realistically speaking, you have a ton of international talent in the NHL. It's always been that way. It always will be that way. It's just the way hockey is designed. You can't really pull that off in any other sport. Maybe basketball.
Basketball
but
is
even
probably
then
the
it'd be
closest
tough.
one right
But
now.
even then,
because
it'd be
they've-
tough to
'cause-
fill out a roster. It is not hard at all to fill out a roster from other nations.
Mhm.
Like, I would turn All-Star Weekend into a week and a half long round robin international free for all. And
Outside of
if
the
you can
Olympic
get
year.
it, if you can get it into 8 teams, then you've got 3, 2, 1, and it's just a tournament, and you just seed them randomly, or you seed them based on how they did in the World Cup or something. But it's undeniable the effect that it had on hockey's viewership. Because nobody cared about, like, nobody was talking about basketball. Nobody was talking about, anything else but the Four Nations.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of talked about it in the last episode with, like, it was kind of like a tale of two All-Star games. You had like the NBA one where it just felt like no player cared, and then you have on the same night 3 fights in 30 seconds or 3 fights in 9 seconds. I keep saying not 30 seconds for some reason. I think because the hit there was like another 2 hits that happened within like 30 seconds of the game started. Like there was like so much happening within that first like minute. But like 3 fights within 9 seconds in which everybody was screaming and cheering. But yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Mikey? Do you think this is something that should stay?
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. I think that this is something. Hockey's different than basketball. I think hockey players and hockey fans are a lot more dedicated
Oh yes.
to the
As
sport.
somebody who's done a podcast with a friend on this, I love Jimmy, and he is a die hard Toronto Maple Leafs fan.
You just said die because that's
Yeah.
what he feels like inside at the playoffs every year.
Probably, yeah.
Sorry, Jimmy.
So I think the
Yeah.
investment of like a Four Nations game, or even a Six Nations or 8 Nations, however many nations you want to add to it, I think just the competitiveness of hockey just makes those games 10 times more fun. It's kind of like I could compare it to like the World Baseball Classic, right?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
World Baseball Classic, you had all these teams coming across, and it was just so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
So much fun.
Hey, it's
to
back
watch.
next year.
You get stuff that you didn't
I
even
know, I'm
expect
so
you were
hyped.
gonna get, like Mike Trout versus Shohei Ohtani
Mhm.
as the last
Epic.
batters, bottom of the ninth.
Seeing
like,
Roki
dude,
Sasaki pitch, like
Yeah, seeing Roki, which we're about to see.
And
in the
Trey
league,
Turner.
So. Yeah,
I
Trey
watched
Turner
Garrett
hits
Stubbs
middle
play
of a
for Team
changeup.
Israel, like
Yeah.
That,
which I thought was
the,
insane.
the
You got
team
to
of
see-
lumberjacks and surgeons.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was that
yeah.
Czech?
That was
Yeah.
Czech.
Shlomo Lipitz,
That was Czech. That was the Czech.
the show legend, Shlomo Lipitz. So I think all of the nation games like that are just so much fun, and like it's better than, I would say better than the Olympics. I think the Olympics have kind of lost their value
Well, because they can't play in the
over
Olympics.
time. Yeah.
Outside of
exactly.
hockey, yeah.
Hockey can't.
Yeah.
They won't let their players play in the Olympics. This is the
They
first
do.
time they're letting them do it in a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Baseball doesn't
Right.
do it.
Yeah. I mean, baseball
Baseball
doesn't
just
do
didn't
it.
even have a
they're
sport.
supposedly
Football doesn't
coming
have
back.
one, and basketball they do,
Right.
which is the only one that does because it's in the
Yeah.
off season.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
But I agree with Mike. Anything that you can do to artificially generate an all-star, like weird matchups, like star versus star down, and make them care about it is preferable. Like, I think
Yep.
hockey understood the all-star game the way they did it is exactly the way basketball does it, but they can't do that. It's just not. Nobody cares. It's the problem with basketball. Basketball needs to fix something.
Yeah.
Yep.
NFL tried to do it with these
1v1s.
little drafted teams, which I like, as opposed to the AFC, NFC. I liked the drafted teams. I didn't like that nobody cared about the game,
Mhm.
but the concept is there. And then the
Yeah.
World Baseball Classic is absolutely
It's
the best way.
electric. I'm going to it
So
again
much
if
fun.
if there's one in America next year.
Well, it's in Miami, so. And Arizona.
I will be pulling up.
I
Tickets
just
are
love
already
all
on
the
sale.
attention that it did bring
Shameless
to
plug.
baseball.
Yeah.
Because baseball is like a dying sport, but it just refueled. I should say it's dying in America, but like in Japan, Korea, it's booming.
Oh
right
yeah.
now. Like Japanese baseball is huge.
Electric.
Right
Dominican
Yeah.
baseball is
Yeah.
hilarious.
The Winter
to
League, I
watch.
guess, was
Oh yeah,
crazy.
Dominican baseball is.
It's
oh
such
my
great
God.
Did you see that guy's
baseball.
bat flip? That was
Yes.
insane. That was nuts.
Yeah.
But no, you guys are great points. Is there anything else you guys want to say before we kind of wrap this up? Soon?
Good. This is great.
Anything for you, Zach?
Uh, no, but I'm excited to see how your Reds take goes because that's
We'll
not gonna
see.
go well.
Well, I feel like it's
Yeah.
one of us between the Reds, A's, and the Blue Jays. We're gonna feel really stupid come the end of this.
We'll figure out what that bet's gonna be.
But we will figure that out, and we'll probably
Figure
discuss
something
it on the next time. If you guys enjoyed episode 2 of the podcast, be sure to at least support, whether if you're on YouTube, by liking, commenting, subscribing to our channel, and turning on the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on more episodes. Or if you're listening to it on Spotify or anywhere else where you can get it, by sharing it out to any and everyone, because all the support you guys leave means the world. But from that, I've been Silver Rancher Nick,
Zach.
Mikey.
and we're signing off. Take care, everybody.
Deuces.